AFT Secretary-Treasurer LorettaJohnson. Loretta?
Good morning, brothers and sisters. I'm introducing the resolution of criminal justice reform. Mass incarceration is devastating large segment of our society, and the prison industry or industrial complex favor feeding grounds are our community of colors. We all know this. We've talked about this. This is nothing new. In Washington, at the powerful new African American History Museum, you begin your journey 4 or 5 stories underground, as if you are in the bowels of a slave ship. And as you twine through the exhibits and rise from the American colonial period to Civil War, Reconstruction, to the Civil Rights era, to the very day, one can't help but see how our nation's racial history is our nation's economic history. They are entwined like a length of rope. American slavery formalized a 2-tiered, race-based labor market we have yet to shake. When the South lost its slave labor force, harsh new labor laws was devised. Southern states passed laws that limit where, when, and how these new freedom men could earn a living. Young black men were sentenced to work on chain gangs for simply walking down the street. And state governments not only had found mass incarceration a source of cheap labor, but it was lucrative too. By 1898, 73% of the state of Alabama's revenue came from convicted leasing. Capitalism and the U.S. criminal justice system are inextricably linked. It is not an accident that the United States has the highest incarceration rate in the industrial world. The private prison industry has lobbied for harsh penalties for nonviolent and minor crimes, such as possession of a small amount of drugs that are more harshly applied to color. This business, or their business model, is based on filling bids. It's not about justice, and it's certainly not about rehabilitation. It is not also an accident that the prison industry has expanded while mental health hospitals have been shattered. Too many extremely sick people are locked up, often for trivial offenses, when they should be in a hospital. Too often, their illness are untreated and worsened. The criminal justice system does little to reduce recidivism. The more than 600,000 people released from prison each year face enormous hurdles to rebuild their lives. They have few opportunities for advanced education, job training, good paying, fulfilling jobs. Too many states and local policy prevent the formerly incarcerated from obtaining student loans or receiving public benefits and other services. The correctional facilities themselves are overcrowded, underfunded, and understaffed. Correctional officers work under difficult circumstances for inadequate pay without the training they need. Last spring, I joined a delegation on a visit to Washington Correctional Center for Women. We listened to correctional officers and counselors talk about their challenges and dangerous working conditions. And we heard from some of the incarcerated women and their colleagues that they faced inside the prison walls and uncertainty they face upon their release. The labor movement has a responsibility to help the formerly incarcerated reintegrated into society and participate in our community. Resolution 25 would help us put on that path. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the president of the Bricklayers and my friend JimBoland.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. My name is JimBoland. I'm president of the International Union of Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers. Thank you, Loretta. And that's a great example of how the labor movement can build community partnerships to effect meaningful change. We must continue to pursue reforms to the criminal justice system. We must urge policymakers to support community policing, training, and de-escalation tactics. We must advocate for expanded funding for behavioral and mental health services. Yeah, I'll listen to an applause for that one. We must reduce mandatory minimum sentencing laws and end the for-profit prison pipelines in this country. Sounds like a prayer list. We must support adequately staff and resource our correctional facilities and alleviate prison overcrowding, which endangers both correctional officers and the incarcerated. We must remove obstacles to employment by supporting ban-the-box legislation, and we must restore the voting rights of the formerly incarcerated. Everyone's entitled to make a mistake. For these reasons, and on behalf of the Resolution Committee, which recommends the adoption, I move Resolution 25.